much higher, so high. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. Another dark man. More videos. Same thing. Got the water on deck. Like always, keep your water on deck. So we got 5 disturbing unsolved mysteries. Okay. Did we look at this last time? No, we didn't. We didn't. No. But I feel like this one will be a little bit more tasteful. You know what I'm saying? Tasteful. Hopefully. I got my door locked. I got my blade in my hand. I'm untouchable. So we're gonna get straight into it.
The disappearance of Kirsty Bentley on New Year's Eve 1998 stands as one of New Zealand's most chilling and heavily investigated cases. On December 31st, 1998, Kirsty, then 15 years old, spent the morning with her friend Lee Ann Jones.
He didn't give me no intro, no nothing. He got straight into the business. I wasn't even ready for it. I thought he was going to give me an intro, talk to me a little bit, but I guess not. And this happened in New Zealand. I didn't even know stuff went down in New Zealand. I thought they just give corn out there in New Zealand.
Jellyman meeting at the Ashburton Library around 10:30 a.m. The two girls shopped together and had lunch at McDonald's, enjoying the last day of the year and the summer holidays. Kirsty was described as cheerful and looking forward to the upcoming New Year's Eve and her 16th birthday, which was just over 2 weeks away. Lee Ann's sister dropped Kirsty back at her family's South Street home around 2:30 p.m. Upon returning, Kirsty learned from her brother John that her boyfriend had called and left a message. Kirsty called him back at 2:38 but reached only his brother, so she left a message asking her boyfriend to call her back. Afterwards, Kirsty decided to take the family's black Labrador named Abby for a walk. This was a routine she often followed, especially to pass the time. John did not hear her leave, but a neighbor saw Kirsty walking Abby past their house at approximately 3:05 p.m., heading in the direction of the Ashburton River.
Bro, I got something in my eye, y'all. You know what I mean? That's why I don't like watching videos. Like, bro, get the fudge. Like, how did we just start like this? Golly. I can't hear my ear right here. So,
a popular spot for dog walkers and swimmers on hot days. Several other potential sightings were reported, but the 3:05 p.m. sighting is the last confirmed. Kirsty was wearing a black tank top, a blue sarong with a white butterfly pattern, and black Colorado shoes with white soles. She also wore a scrunchie on her wrist, and her hair was down, which was said to be unusual as she always wore it up when out for a walk. Kirsty's boyfriend returned her call at 4:30, but John noticed that Kirsty was still not home. When their mother, Jill, arrived home from work at around 5:15, John immediately told her that Kirsty was gone. Jill's concern quickly grew, especially as she noticed Abby's dog lead was missing from its usual place by the back door, and Kirsty had not left any note or message. Jill's sense of dread, which she later described as a mother's intuition, drove her to immediately check the river track where Kirsty would typically walk Abby. She walked the route, calling out for her daughter and the dog, but found nothing. Overcome with panic, she turned back before reaching Abby's favorite swimming hole. After returning home, Jill and John agreed to wait until 6 p.m. before searching again, hoping Kirsty would return on her own. Just before 6, John set out to search the dog walking route. Shortly after, Kirsty's father, Sid, arrived home and was told about the situation. Recognizing the seriousness, Sid immediately called the police to report Kirsty missing at around 6:20 p.m. Jill went back out to search, and Sid, despite suffering from a migraine, joined a neighbor to check the riverbank, even vomiting on the way due to his condition. John continued searching, eventually joining Jill on the river track, and later, police sent him out on his bike to check another section of the track. Sid picked up John around 8, but John soon went back out to join other searchers, including his uncle, and continued.
To be honest, you got to start keeping the tracker in the pocket with these little kids, man. You know, you got to keep a tracker in these pockets. I can't even fully focus on the video because I got a freaking eyelash in my eyebrow, in my eye. Cheese and crackers. Hey, somebody blow my eye for me. Blow my eye for me. They're blowing my eye for me, bro. Come on. Jeez, I can't see. It's gonna have to do. Brittany, look at Brittany. The girl went missing already. You got
searching until about 12:30 a.m. Sid also continued searching on his own after 8 p.m. As darkness fell, the search intensified. Friends, neighbors, and local police officers joined the effort, scouring the neighborhood, building yards, and the northern riverbank and its paths. The mood grew increasingly grim
also,
as the
this happened in New Zealand. This happened in New Zealand. Baby took the dog outside on the walk, and then there was shit. She was gone for about 3 hours. There was like, what's going on? Where she had been 3 hours, and then dad calls like, yo, my daughter missing. Come on, y'all, please. And they was like, fuck it, let's go. Let's go. And then they searching for the dog and her.
Hours passed without any sign of Kirsty or Abby. The search continued through the night, but nothing was found. Kirsty's disappearance quickly became a large.
And then I was like, yeah, bro, you gotta keep the tracker in the pockets on your little niggas. But I bet you when I have a baby, that baby gonna have a tracker in his bloodstream.
Scale emergency. By the next morning, January 1st, 1999, an official search and rescue operation was launched at 8 a.m. with police, family, friends, and volunteers combing the Ashburton riverbank and surrounding areas. The New Zealand Army even sent troops from Burnham Military Camp to assist in the search, reflecting the scale and urgency of the operation. Around 10 a.m. on January 1st, 2 hours into the official search, searchers heard barking and found Abby tied to a tree in a patch of dense bush just off one of the river walking tracks Kirsty often used. The area had been searched the previous night, but Abby had not been found. Abby was dehydrated but unharmed. The way she was tied up suggested she had been unleashed before being tethered, indicating that whoever tied her up knew the dog and how to handle her. Near the spot where Abby was found, searchers discovered 2 items of clothing, underwear and boxer shorts, resting on top of blackberry bushes about 2 meters from the ground and roughly 30 meters from where Abby was tied. These were later confirmed to belong to Kirsty. The underwear showed no signs of being torn or forcibly removed, and there was no evidence of a struggle at the scene. The clothing Kirsty was wearing when last seen was not ripped or damaged, and the items did not appear to have been dragged or thrown onto the bushes. The family initially thought the lead used to tie Abby was not the one Kirsty had taken from home, adding to the confusion. The scene immediately raised suspicion.
What if she went, now listen, follow me here on this. What if she took the dog out, right? But then realistically though, that she went to the bushes and she went to go choke her chicken or something. Or she wanted to meet up with somebody and they was in the bushes doing something. And then something happened and the bear ate him. A bear ate him, so they ain't got no
among investigators. Detective Senior Sergeant Lance Corcoran, who led the original investigation, believed from the outset that the crime scene was staged to mislead police. This theory was later supported by international criminal profiler Chuck Burton, who reviewed the files years later. The lack of signs of a struggle, the placement of the underwear, and Abby's silence all suggested that someone familiar with Kirsty or Abby or both had orchestrated the scene. With the discovery of Abby and Kirsty's clothing, the focus of the search shifted, but no further trace of Kirsty was found. Over the next 16 days, police and volunteers meticulously searched the Ashburton area and the wider Canterbury district, expanding the search radius as hope for finding Kirsty alive began to fade. Police interviewed hundreds of local men, canvassed neighborhoods, and followed up on every reported sighting and piece of information. Rumors and suspicions swirled throughout the community, with many people speculating about possible suspects and motives. In the immediate aftermath, police turned their attention to those closest to her. Both Kirsty's father and her older brother were considered suspects in the early stages of the investigation. This was not unusual. Statistically, family members are often the first to be investigated in cases involving the sudden disappearance or death of a child or teenager. The intense scrutiny of the Bentley family was compounded by the lack of any immediate evidence pointing to an outside perpetrator and by...
What if the dog ate her, y'all? Follow me here. What if the dog ate her?
Inconsistencies in their recollections of the day's events. Sid Bentley's movements on December 31st, 1998 became a particular focus. Initially, he told police he had spent the day in Christchurch and Littleton, but he later revised his account, claiming he had hit his head and forgotten that he was actually in Ashburton for part of the day. This shifting story raised suspicions, though Sid's family believed his embarrassment and confusion were unrelated to the crime. John Bentley, who was 19 at the time, also faced police questioning and acknowledged in interviews that it was only logical for investigators to consider him and his father as suspects. Police conducted a thorough forensic examination of the Bentley home, including luminol, testing for traces of blood or evidence of violence. These tests, however, yielded nothing of value. No blood or forensic evidence linked the family to Kirsty.
That's what they be saying though. Like when people go missing in the forest, they say the animals eat them, eat the bones and all. Bro, I give Rosie, my dog Rosie, I give her chicken bone. She eat the chicken bone up like that in 2 seconds. I'm just saying, man.
His disappearance or death. Ultimately, neither Sid nor John was ever charged, and as the years passed, police publicly stated there was no evidence implicating them. By 2018, investigators confirmed that they no longer believed Sid or John were involved in the crime. One of the most persistent mysteries in the investigation has been the staging of the scene where Kirsty's dog, Abby, and her underwear were found. Both retired British Detective Inspector Chuck Burton, who reviewed the case at the request of New Zealand Police, and Detective Senior Sergeant Lance Corcoran, who led the Ashburton CIB at the time, concluded the scene was likely staged to mislead investigators and protect the killer's identity. Burton's review, conducted years after the murder, led him to believe that the perpetrator had an emotional connection to Kirsty, possibly someone she knew or trusted. The careful placement of her body in the Rakaya Gorge, some 40 kilometers from Ashburton, further suggested a degree of planning and familiarity with the local landscape. Both Burton and Lance agreed that the killer likely had local knowledge and may have frequented the areas where Kirsty and Abby walked. Bro, as the investigation progressed,
this nigga just played them, bro. He just played them. Whoever played them, put the draws there, and it was like, look, bro, had that boy going on a wild goose chase. Golly. Crazy.
The police considered hundreds of potential suspects, at times narrowing the list to as few as 20 individuals, but never formally eliminating many from inquiry. Among the local men who became persons of interest was one named Barry Hepburn. He was a physically strong farm worker known for walking his Alsatian dog along the same river trail as Kirsty. Hepburn, who had the mental age of a teenager, was seen in the area around the time of Kirsty's disappearance. He did not show up for work on New Year's Day and was later seen unusually well groomed. Despite these suspicions, there was no evidence to directly link him to the crime. Another suspect was named Charlie Smith, a resident of Rakaya who repainted his Ford Falcon after Kirsty's disappearance and was rumored to have boasted about involvement in her death. Police investigated these claims but could not substantiate them. One particular lead investigators spent a lot of time on was that involving a green Commer van, a relatively rare green.
But how they know she dead though? What if she did that? Follow me here. What if follow me. She put the drawers and then left it. Maybe she just wanted to run away. She put the drawers, she was like, look, they gonna go on a wild goose chase right there. Cause from what I'm hearing right now, they ain't find nobody. So what if the drawers was a you know what I'm saying, a thing to whoop de whoop, and then you feel what I'm saying,
van was spotted in the vicinity of both the abduction site and the gorge around the time of the murder. Police invested thousands of hours trying to track down this vehicle, but it was never found, and its significance remains unresolved. In more recent years, Detective Inspector Greg Merton and other investigators now believe that the killer was likely a local cannabis user or grower, as the area where the victim was found was known to be popular for cultivation. The fact that her remains were discovered by two men searching
Take back everything I said. I'm sorry.
for cannabis plots added weight to this theory. Police do not believe Kirsty was killed at the gorge. Rather, she was likely abducted while walking Abbey, held elsewhere, and then her body was transported and hidden in the gorge sometime later. Another significant figure investigated was Russell John Tully, a local man who would later gain infamy for murdering two staff members at the Ashburton Work and Income office in 2014. Tully had camped in the Ashburton area around the time of Kirsty's disappearance, which initially raised suspicions. However, in 2018, police announced that Russell had been eliminated from the inquiry after providing a detailed account of his whereabouts and was no longer considered a suspect.
Somebody got to do it. Somebody had to do it.
Chris Jenkins was a 21-year-old senior at the University of Minnesota, majoring in business and known for his athleticism as a lacrosse goalie. Raised in Eden Prairie, a suburb of the Twin Cities, Chris was described by friends and family as kind, helpful, and principled. He was the type of person who stood up for others, such as a neighbor with epilepsy who was bullied at school. Chris always intervened on her behalf. His reputation as a reliable friend and a dedicated athlete was well established among his peers. He lived in Dinkytown, a lively neighborhood just off the university campus, and was in a relationship with...
Well, I didn't say scary, Brittany. And if you read the title, I said creepy. I said creepy, not scary. Not scary this time. So this time, people come in, they be like, oh, wait, these are creepy. These aren't scary. These are creepy. You know what I'm saying? I didn't say scary. I said creepy. Creepy. It's creepy. Bruh, you gotta think about it, bro. When I tell you, when I watch those other videos, bro, the time we did the scary John, bro, I couldn't sleep, my nigga. I'm tossing, turning. Hey, bruh, nigga, I turned my lights on. I turned my lights on, man. Who you know do that? I turned my lights on, nigga. My feet, one foot was cold, one foot was hot. No, I can sleep now, but best believe off this what I'm doing now, I can sleep now, nigga. Butt naked.
Ashley Rice at the time. The two, along with their friends, were active participants in the university's social scene and frequently attended parties and local bars. Halloween 2002 was a particularly special occasion for Chris. It was his first Halloween as a legal adult able to drink, and he was eager to celebrate. That evening, he and his roommates hosted a keg party at their house before heading out for the night. Around 10:30 p.m., Chris, Ashley, and three friends left for the Lone Tree Bar and Grill in downtown Minneapolis. Ashley, who worked at the Lone Tree Bar, was not on duty that night but joined the group as a patron. Notably, Chris's costume did not have pockets, so Ashley carried his wallet, phone, and keys for him. The weather that night was harsh, with temperatures dropping to around 24 degrees Fahrenheit, making it the coldest night of October in Minneapolis. This detail would later become crucial, as Chris would end up outside in only his costume without any means to keep warm or contact anyone. The bar was bustling with Halloween revelers, and Chris's group blended into the crowd. Accounts of what transpired inside the bar differ, but several key details have emerged. At some point during the night, an altercation broke out between two young men after one allegedly hit on someone else's girlfriend. Chris reportedly intervened to break up the dispute, and in the...
But realistically, can me and Brandon come over this weekend? What am I doing this weekend? That could be set up. But, what was I about to say? Oh, yeah. Realistically though, if somebody, you in the bar, right, you lit, hey man, and you with your fine shit, with your fine shit, and a person come up be like, yo, like, brr, brr, you know what I'm saying? Did what not? I'm trying to eat that butt. You swinging on him? You swinging on them? You swinging on that person? Cause me, I'm gonna be like, it really depends on how she moving. You know what I'm saying? If it hit that, if she hit that, nah, I got a man right there, like chill out, cuz like I ain't want your little stupid ass. And then he be like, ah, my fault, I ain't know that. He back up, then it's cool. Now if he continue to go, right? He continue to go, and he be like, man, fuck that boy. Now that right there, that's disrespect. That disrespect. You can't take disrespect. You know what I'm saying? And I fuck with Chris. Actually, I don't even know how Chris Jenkins was really moving. He said he broke up the fight. Actually, Chris, that shit ain't got nothing to do with you breaking up a fight. But that's either near or there. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like it depends on the context and the clues and shit like that. Cause me, I ain't really too much of a fighter. But if that disrespect come around, you can't let nobody disrespect you. You might got hit with that. That's a punch with the elbow. Punch with the elbow. Niggas don't know about that. Punch the elbow. You gotta try that.
Process, his beer spilled onto his lap. This incident, whether accidental or not, appears to have played a role in what happened next. There are conflicting reports about the circumstances that led to Chris being removed from the bar. Some sources suggest that he was kicked out because of the spilled beer, while others believe that the earlier altercation or...
And that's what I'm talking about there. Sometimes you just gotta mind your fucking business, cause now you kicked out the bar cause you breaking up a fight that got nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you at all. Nothing to do with you at all. You breaking up a fight, boom, now you kicked out because you spilled beer on Buddy. Why Buddy ain't kicked out? You would have minded your business from the jump.
A potential misunderstanding with security staff contributed to the decision. It is also possible that Chris left voluntarily after becoming upset about something he learned or
Hey Chris, if you there right now, bro, I'm sorry, bro. Please, I'm just talking, bro. Please, I'm sorry.
Witnessed, perhaps involving his girlfriend and another man. Regardless of the exact reason, the consensus is that Chris was escorted out of the Lone Tree bar around midnight alone and visibly intoxicated. Once outside, he found himself in a vulnerable position. He had no jacket, wallet, phone, or keys. They were all inside the bar with Ashley. The temperature was well below freezing, and Chris was dressed only in his thin Halloween costume. He had no ride home and no means to contact anyone. This scenario, combined with his emotional state, having just been involved in a confrontation and possibly embarrassed by being ejected from the bar, left him exposed and at risk. The next morning, Ashley went to Chris's house to return his belongings, only to find that he had not come home. Alarmed, she contacted his parents, Jan and Steve Jenkins,
no bullshit. Hold on. How they seeing that? Chris, I'm sorry. I was just kidding, please. But anyways, that friend that he had, girlfriend, whoever, fake as hell. Fake as hell, bro. You telling me you ain't checking up on me? You ain't checking up on me the day after? The day after? And like, you got all my shit on you and you checking on me the day after? Come on, bro. If my boy got kicked out, I'm with him too. I'm kicked out too. I mean, I'm not kicked out. I'm walking out by myself. Like, I'm walking out. Like, cause you're not about to touch me. I can walk out myself. I'm walking out behind him. But I'm still out, though. I'm just saying I'm not going to be in there without him. That's just some fake shit.
Immediately reported him missing. However, the police response was initially slow. It took 5 days before they began investigating the disappearance in earnest. Early on, authorities speculated that Chris might have left town on a whim, despite the fact that he had no money, identification, phone, or even a coat to protect him from the harsh Minnesota weather. From the start, Chris's family and friends were deeply concerned and proactive in their search. They worked closely with law enforcement and even hired private investigator Chuck Loesch to assist in the effort. Bloodhounds were brought in twice, once within the first week and again several weeks later. Both times, the dogs traced Chris's scent from the bar to a nearby underground parking garage where drops of blood were also found. The scent trail ended at the garage, leading some to believe that Chris may have gotten into a car, either willingly or by force. This clue raised troubling possibilities. If Chris had entered a vehicle, it might suggest abduction.
So we don't got cameras in 2002? In 2002 we just don't got cameras? No cameras in 2002? Like, come on, y'all. Where the cameras on the traffic lights? Golly.
or foul play. The parking garage was located across from the bar, making it plausible that someone could have been waiting for him or that he was lured or forced into a car. The blood found in the garage added another layer of suspicion, though it was never conclusively linked to Chris. For months, the search would prove fruitless, with leads not progressing the investigation. However, on February 27, 2003, two pedestrians walking along the Mississippi River's south bank near downtown Minneapolis spotted what appeared to be a body caught beneath the 3rd Avenue Bridge. This location was less than 3/4 of a mile from the Lone Tree Bar Grill, where Chris had last been seen on Halloween night the previous year. The sighting was reported to authorities shortly before 4 p.m. that Thursday. Responders from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Department and local police arrived on the scene and began the difficult process of recovering the body. The effort was complicated by the river's swift current and the presence of ice chunks, which made the operation hazardous and prolonged. It took more than 2 hours to retrieve the remains from the water.
These niggas slack, bruh. Come on, get that boy. You telling me we can go into space, but you can't get that boy from a river? Like, come on, man. We can go on a submarine to go visit the Titanic, but we can't get a boy from a river? 2 hours? Get that boy at that river?
The body was found in a mass of debris, partially frozen into the river ice, and was described as being on the south bank, across from the St. Anthony main area. The temperature at the time was just above freezing. The recovery site was close enough to Jenkins' last known location that it immediately raised questions.
Mind you, bro, we went to space like 19 something, bro. 19 something we went to space, bro. And you telling me we ain't got no technology to get this boy up out the river in 2002? Come on, bro.
About how he had ended up in the river.
Wait a minute. Hey, when do we go to space? Yeah, I was right. 1961 that was. We went to space in 1961.
And whether he had entered the water nearby or been transported from elsewhere. After the body was recovered, it was transported to the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's office for identification. Because the body had been in the water for an...
You go look for him then? Do I look like a nigga that got technology to get in the river? No. Did I sign up for that? No. Come on, bro.
Extended period, dental records provided by the Jenkins family were used to confirm the identity as Chris Jenkins. The family, who had been holding out hope for Chris's safe return, was notified by their private investigator, Chuck Loesch, after police contacted Chris's father, Steve Jenkins. The news was devastating for the Jenkins family and their friends, who had spent months organizing search efforts, managing a command center, and fielding tips that had dwindled in the weeks prior to the discovery.
You blue collar... Hold on, bro. Because you're making my eyes hurt. You blue collar now, you should take a forklift. I mean, if that's what was needed, bro, we got stuff for that. We got something called a drag line. A drag line got a long jaw, that jump. Hey, grab shit like that, long shit. We could have went and grabbed like this stuff you can get to get that boy out there. It shouldn't have took 2 hours.
The emotional toll was immense. Friends like Chris Bailey, Jenkins' lacrosse team co-captain, expressed a sense of emptiness and disappointment, especially since the body was found in an area that volunteers had already searched. There was no sense of closure, only a shift from hope to a pressing need for answers about what had happened. Details about the condition of Chris Jenkins' body became a focal point in the investigation and subsequent public debate. When found, Chris was still wearing the same American Indian costume he had donned for Halloween.
They got that boy
this
that
included
Indian
his shirt, which was tucked into his drawstring pants.
Y'all think I know what happened. Now listen to this right here. Listen to this. So boom, you see how he in the Indian John? Not even Indian. Native American John. He in the Native American John. The Native Americans don't play around like that, man. Don't play around and shit like that, bro. I know a nigga over there in Lumberton. Cut a nigga head off. Smooth off. Let that boy in the elementary school. You know what I'm saying? You can't play around in that Native American wear, bro, if you're not really, you know what I'm saying, rocking with them, you know what I'm saying? That's playing in their attire, bro. They don't play like that. They don't even play like that, bro. I feel like they got him. They probably went up and got their ass, bro.
And his oversized slip-on shoes, both of which remained on his feet. He also still wore a necklace and rings on both hands. The neatness of his...
Sawakiki? Who?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
clothing and the fact that his shoes were still on stood out as unusual. Most drowning victims are found face down, with their clothing in disarray and often missing one or both shoes due to the vigorous movements associated with drowning and the river's current. Perhaps most striking was the position of Chris's body. He was found floating on his back with his arms crossed over his chest. This posture is highly atypical for drowning victims, who are generally discovered with their arms and legs splayed out, a result of instinctive paddling and struggling in the water. The arms crossed position, combined with the intact clothing, led some experts and family members to speculate that Chris may have been placed in the water after death or while unconscious. Another detail that drew attention was the presence of a wad of hair clutched in Chris's hand. Forensic testing later determined that the hair belonged to Chris himself. The significance of this finding remains debated. Some interpret it as a sign of a struggle, while others note that hair can be pulled out during the process of drowning or as a result of decomposition. The body showed little visible decomposition despite having been in the river for months, likely due to the cold water temperatures which can slow down the process. There were no obvious signs of trauma, no broken...
You watch Dexter. Dexter Brother Season 1, Season 2. Season 2 Dexter Brother killed them boys. Put them in the refrigerator. It preserved their body, bro. That cold preserved bodies.
Broken bones, gunshot wounds, or other injuries that would immediately suggest a violent death. The absence of bruising or other marks was noted, but it was also acknowledged that a body in water for an extended period can lose such evidence, making it difficult to determine if foul play occurred. The county medical examiner, working in consultation with a Milwaukee medical...
Another thing, bro. You telling me they can't figure out who did what to Chris, and we can get King Tut mummified body and revert that to back with how he look. Come on, bro. Niggas pick and choose. They pick and choose. Like, I ain't gonna speak too much because I don't know who's listening. But you know what I'm saying. You know who they pick and choose when they want to start doing shit though. When they wanna start doing shit and actually, you know what I'm saying, making an effort. But we ain't even gonna get into too much.
Examiner, at the family's request, performed a thorough autopsy. The process included external and internal examinations, microscopic analysis of tissue, and toxicology testing. The preliminary autopsy found no evidence of death by trauma from an unnatural source, such as a gunshot or stabbing, nor did it suggest natural causes. The body did show signs of having been in the water for a considerable time, but the exact duration was hard to determine.
I changed my mind. So boom, look. So boom. But buddy, he get out the bar, he drunk, you know what I'm saying? He's still drunk, he tore up. Oh shit. He just walking, bow. He busted his lip in the parking garage on the lip busted. He leaking blood right there. Right? Dude like, yo, I can get a ride home. Dude like, bro, get in, bro. I'll tell you where you need to go. Buddy don't know how to get home because he drunk, so boom. Buddy let him walk out on the street. So boom, buddy trying to get home and he gets sleepy, right? Lip bleeding, so he gets sleepy. He take a nap on the bridge like this, right? On the bridge like this. Fall back. He fall back, and then and he was floating for months. I don't know.
There were also reports, though not universally confirmed, of GHB, a date rape drug, in his system. Medical professionals noted that the human body naturally produces some GHB after death, and the levels found in Chris's body were not conclusively outside the range expected from decomposition. One notable autopsy finding was that Chris had very little water in his lungs. This detail is significant because in most drowning cases, victims inhale large amounts of water during their struggle to breathe. The relative dryness of Chris's lungs raised questions about whether he was alive when he entered the water or if he had died beforehand. However, experts cautioned that after months in the river, it is difficult to draw firm conclusions from such findings, as water would eventually fill the lungs regardless of the cause of death. Within days of the body's recovery, officials announced that the probable cause of death was drowning. The manner of death, however, was left undetermined. Law enforcement initially leaned toward accidental drowning or suicide, citing Chris's intoxication and emotional state on the night he disappeared. Public statements from police suggested they considered a likely explanation, though the Jenkins family and many friends adamantly rejected this idea, insisting that Chris had shown no signs of depression or suicidal intent.
That don't mean nothing, boy. I know, but I don't mean shit, boy. The happiest niggas be the saddest. For real, you gotta watch out.
To rely solely on the official investigation, Jan and Steve Jenkins launched their own parallel inquiry. They hired private investigators and brought in bloodhounds to retrace Chris's last known steps. The family also consulted hydrologists to analyze river currents and theorize how and where Chris's body may have entered the water. The family was relentless in following up on every possible lead, no matter how unconventional. They posted flyers, organized search parties, and canvassed the area for witnesses. At times, their desperation led them to consult psychics and consider conspiracy theories, including the possibility of a satanic cult.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Slow down. Golly, slow down now. Shit. How we get that far? Them boys, what was that one lady that it was on TLC? And she was like the medium, Long Island medium. You gotta call her up. Call her up, bro. If you want to call somebody, calling a psychic. Psychics be lying. Can't trust no psychic. Call her up. She get the work done, though.
His death. The family's relentless advocacy eventually paid off. In 2005, a significant development occurred when an incarcerated individual came forward with information about the death. This jailhouse informant claimed that Chris had been the victim of an attempted robbery on the Hennepin Avenue Bridge. According to the informant, when the assailants realized Chris had nothing to steal, they became enraged and threw him over the bridge railing. The specificity of the—
Golly, imagine you getting robbed. You don't got shit in your pockets. Bro, I ain't got nothing, bro. They mad cause you broke. They broke. Okay, so first off, they already broke. And then you broke, and they mad because you broke too. That's insane. And now you getting beat up because you broke. That's an important lesson, y'all. Always keep $5 in your pocket just in case you get robbed. Always.
The informant's
Keep
account,
$5.
including the location and circumstances, lent it credibility in the eyes of investigators. Spurred by this new lead and the persistent efforts of the Jenkins family, the Minneapolis Police Department reopened the case. In November 2006, authorities made a public announcement that Chris Jenkins' death had been reclassified as a homicide. Additionally, the police department issued a formal apology to Jan and Steve for mistakes made during the initial investigation, acknowledging that their earlier conclusions had been premature and that the family's concerns were valid. As of 2025, the death of Chris Jenkins remains unsolved. Despite the reclassification of the case as—
Is Chris Jenkins... Hold on. Did Chris Jenkins' murder get solved? I'm going to use ChatGPT. It's working. No, I don't want... It's fucking stupid.
A homicide and the tireless efforts of his family, no one has been charged in connection with his death. On another note, Chris's mother has publicly speculated about the possible involvement of law enforcement in her son's removal from the bar. She theorized that an—
I got you, don't worry about it. I'm gonna do some research on the side over here. And I'll bring it back when I figure out my research.
Off-duty police officer may have orchestrated Chris's ejection to pursue his girlfriend, who was also at the bar that night. However, this theory is based largely on family suspicion and has not been substantiated by independent investigation or corroborated by police records. In the early morning hours of April 29, 1991, Richard Dick Hansen, a 36-year-old former Santa Clara University football star and
So what I'm seeing here, right? Boom. So look, boom. Look at y'all. Look at this. I'm gonna put y'all on. So boom. I'm gonna get down. I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. Smiley face murder mystery. Drowning deaths of 40 young men in 25 cities. Golly. Hold on. Wait, let me get down to the bottom of this one. I see. This is 2024 right here. This is recent. This is last year. The Smiley Ferris murders are one of the longest running serial killer theories in the U.S. Since 1997, around 45 men mysteriously disappeared after night out, only to be found dead in nearby body of water. Golly! I mean, if this is the case, then Jenkins got to be a part of that, right there. And what year this was in? 1997. Now listen, y'all follow me, follow me, y'all follow me. Listen, wait. Follow me here. Wait. Follow me. Hold on. Follow me. What's that boy name? Alright, I'm on the absolutely. Wait. 1997. Oh shit, yeah. I'm on to absolutely nothing here. I'm sorry, I waste y'all time. I waste everybody's time. Let's back to the video.
Electronics industry manager was shot and killed near the Fremont Avenue exit on northbound Highway 85 in Sunnyvale, California. Hansen, who had recently divorced and was the father of 2 young daughters, was accompanied that night by a woman known publicly only as Jean. She remains the sole eyewitness to the crime, and her identity has been carefully protected by law enforcement and the media. Dick Hansen and Jean began their evening at Original Joe's restaurant in downtown San Jose around 10 p.m. The two had known each other socially, and Hansen, recently divorced, sought companionship for a night out. After dinner, they drove approximately 5 miles to a local nightclub in Jean's car, leaving Hansen's pickup truck parked outside the restaurant. They stayed at the club until approximately 1:45 a.m.
Look, y'all hear all this correlation? Clubs. Stay the fuck out them clubs, y'all. Stay out them clubs, man, and love yourself. Love yourself first. Stay out them clubs, man, and don't mess with nobody named Gene.
At which point they returned to the restaurant parking lot to retrieve Hansen's truck. While seated in Gene's car, a light gray or blue 1970 Pontiac GTO Le Mans pulled up behind them. Gene initially assumed the driver might be waiting to access a nearby mailbox and asked Hansen if she should move her car forward. Hansen dismissed the concern, stating there was sufficient space. Moments later, Hansen exited Gene's vehicle and entered his truck, planning to lead her to the freeway since she was unfamiliar with the area. As Hansen and Gene departed the parking lot, the Pontiac began tailing them. Hansen signaled for Gene to follow him onto northbound Highway 280, which merges into Highway 85 near Sunnyvale. Over the next 10 to 12 miles, the suspect's vehicle mirrored Gene's every move, maintaining a close distance despite her attempts to evade him. She abruptly slowed down and changed lanes multiple times before Hansen noticed the situation through his rearview mirror. Gene later recounted feeling increasingly alarmed, later telling investigators she suggested to Hansen via hand signals that they drive to a police station. However, Hansen either did not understand.
We should drive to the police station. This bitch over here talking about something with hand signals. Nigga, how you supposed to know? Use your mouth. Yo, we should drive to the police station, no cap. Nigga over here throwing up blood sign and shit. I'm
2:30 a.m., Hansen exited Highway 85 at the Fremont Avenue exit in Sunnyvale, turning onto a residential street. Gene followed, parking behind Hansen's truck. The Pontiac pulled up direct.
This nigga made me monkey D. Luffy.
Behind her, blocking her vehicle. Hansen exited his truck and walked past Gene's car, instructing her to stay inside. He approached the driver's side window of the Pontiac and shouted, "What are you doing?" According to Gene's account, the suspect gestured toward her car, specifically her personalized license plate reading 49er Hugs. She added that Hansen proceeded to yell at the driver, telling him to, quote, "Get the hell out of here." Shortly after, the suspect drew a handgun and fired 2 shots at close range, striking Hansen in the chest and neck. Jean, frozen in fear, locked eyes with the shooter through her rearview mirror for several seconds before he sped away. She then exited her car and rushed to Hansen, who was lying unconscious on the pavement. A passing motorist stopped to assist, summoning paramedics, but Hansen was pronounced dead at Stanford.
Hansen, all because you want to talk. I mean, all you had to do it. Well, I mean, like, all you had to do is give up the little license plate. We don't need like 49ers. Get him out of there. You could have get a license plate. You trying to be big and bad. You just got divorced, my nigga. And then he going, how you draw a handgun? He went like this, or he literally drew a handgun. Off that right there, he do anything like this, nigga. You would think I was Paul Walker.
University Hospital shortly after arrival. The investigation into Hansen's murder faced significant challenges due to the lack of physical evidence, conflicting witness accounts, and the absence of a clear motive. The shooter was described as a white male, 30 to 40.
Nigga. That's me. That's me, bro. Nigga, look, hold on. I don't even know what to do anymore. Oh, hold on, bro. I don't know what to do. Oh. They gonna find me.
40 years old, with a dark or olive complexion and large black-framed glasses. He drove a 1970 Pontiac GTO Le Mans, a 2-door coupe with faded light gray or blue paint and no front license plate.
Matter of fact, you gotta ask Dad if he know this nigga. Ask Dad if he know this nigga.
Despite the car's distinctiveness, searches of DMV records and public tips failed to identify the vehicle. Police withheld the caliber of the bullets used in the shooting, intending to use this detail to verify any future confessions. Jean's account formed the backbone of the investigation, though her timeline contained inconsistencies. For example, she initially claimed the suspect first appeared at the restaurant parking lot, but later suggested he might have followed them from the nightclub. Furthermore, investigators ruled her out as a suspect early on, citing her cooperation and the absence of motive. However, online sleuths later questioned her decision to exit her car post-shooting and inconsistencies in her statements. The most publicized theory centered on Jean's 49er Hugs license plate. Police speculated the shooter mistook Hansen for a San Francisco 49ers player, possibly due to his athletic build. The killer allegedly gestured toward the license plate before firing, prompting theories of a deranged sports fan targeting.
He says his cousin. Oh shit! Don't tell nobody that, bro. Hey, matter of fact, delete that comment.
Hansen. Some supporting factors include the fact that the 49ers...
You know what it is? Nigga, it was AJ. God! Nobody wrong, boy. It was AJ.
had recently lost the Super Bowl 3 months earlier. This loss may have fueled fan frustration. Additionally, Hansen bore a resemblance to Harris Barton, a San Francisco offensive lineman at the time. A Dates from Hell episode suggested the killer might have confused Hansen with Barton, who faced criticism for the team's loss. But a counter-argument that skeptics bring up is the license plate was on Jean's car, not Hansen's, and the shooter followed both vehicles equally. Some theorize the killer was fixated on Jean, not Hansen. His decision to spare her life and stare at her before fleeing suggested a personal connection. Some investigators noted the killer's gesture toward Jean's car might have been directed at her, not the license plate. A different avenue suggests Hansen's recent divorce and occasional confrontational behavior led to a vendetta. Friends described him as charismatic but prone to playful headlocks, which some found aggressive. There were fringe rumors that Hansen was involved in provocative or shady hobbies and vices that might have played a role. However, police found no evidence. There's also the possibility that this was a random act of violence by a mentally unstable individual. Despite the media
Oh, bro, but you got, like, the nigga got away. He got away with this, though. Like it shouldn't be easy to get away with murder, and he had his whole face shown with the glasses, full sketch. Golly, I just got the chills off that.
Tension and numerous theories, the case quickly went cold. The composite sketch of the suspect and the detailed description of the car failed to generate any significant leads. Born on October 21st, 1984, Tiffany Nelson was...
I'm getting scared. Let's switch videos. Let's get something different. Golly, Lost Media. I don't think I want that. Can I get something like? Why do we always have to be like me? Be like, hey, Cam, be scared, bro. Be scared. Why can't we be like, yeah, Cam, let's watch something happy, bro. Watch somebody travel the country, one leg, with $1 million in their pocket or something. Watch somebody raise money for cancer. No, I'm stuck watching 5 disturbing unsolved mysteries, bro.
Was described by her family as a sweet, kind, and energetic child. She spent her early years in Augusta, Georgia, where she was raised primarily by her mother. Her father, Vernon, was not very present during her early childhood, but began to see her more often after a family tragedy. In 1992, when Tiffany was just 7 years old, her mother passed away. This loss brought her extended family closer together, and her aunt, Ora Parrish, stepped in as Tiffany's guardian, taking her into her home on Getson Drive in the Faith Village neighborhood of South Augusta. Despite the heartbreak of losing her mother, Tiffany remained warm and compassionate in her family. She became especially close with her aunt, cousins, and other relatives who all rallied to support her. Her cousin Benita remembered Tiffany as something of a tomboy. Tiffany's niece, Stephanie,
I got a cousin named Quita, they might be cousins,
who was close in age, recalled their relationship as being more like sisters than aunt and niece, filled with sleepovers, bedtime stories, and shared childhood memories. By the summer of 1994, Tiffany was 9 years old and looking forward to the freedom of summer vacation. June 6, 1994 was the first Monday of her break from school, a day that, for many children, signals the start of carefree days and endless possibilities. The weather in Augusta that morning was warm but not overly humid, with temperatures in the lower 80s. Tiffany woke up early, spent some time with her aunt, and then set out on her red 10-speed bicycle. The bike was a prized possession and an extension of her adventurous spirit. That morning, the tires on her bike were a bit flat, so Tiffany decided to ride to a nearby gas station and convenience store to fill them with air. The route from her home to the gas station was short, just a quarter of a mile and 2 corners away. She rode down Neal Street, took a left on Ruby Drive, and then a right onto Richmond Hill Drive, which led her to the intersection with Lumpkin Road. The Amoco gas station, located at this busy intersection, was a familiar and accessible place for Tiffany. Witnesses later reported seeing her at around 10 a.m. using the air pumps to inflate her bike tires. She was wearing a multicolored flower shirt, blue and white denim shorts, and blue and white Air Jordan sneakers, clothing that would later become significant in identifying her remains. After that sighting, Tiffany was never seen alive again. When she failed to return home, her aunt Ora Parrish quickly reported her missing. The initial response from law enforcement was to treat the case as a missing person, with some officials suggesting early on that Tiffany might have run away.
Hey, listen,
this approach,
y'all don't let no babies go outside. No babies outside no more. No more bike riding, none of that. Every baby from here on out, cause I said so. Every baby in the house. Every baby, no, you're not going outside. Can I? No, fuck no. Can I go down? No. Can I? No, nigga. Boy, you better be glad. You lucky if I let you go to school, boy. Look, if I let you go to school, you ain't going nowhere out of my sight. And you gonna keep a tracker in your bag. You gonna keep a tracker in your wallet. You gonna keep a tracker in your shirt. You gonna keep a tracker in your drawers, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
Drew criticism from her family, who insisted that Tiffany would never have left on her own and that the possibility of foul play should have been considered from the outset. On June,
Shad, if you watching this, nigga, I'm about to buy you a tracker. You putting that junk in your drawers. We gotta make sure you safe, boy. Landon, Zoe, Tracker. Get him. Now.
June 7th, the day after Tiffany's disappearance, the Augusta Police Department and Richmond County Sheriff's Office began a door-to-door search. They retraced her likely route from her home to the gas station, canvassed the neighborhood, and searched the woods behind the Amoco station, but found no trace of Tiffany or her bicycle. The police released descriptions of Tiffany and her clothing to the media, highlighting a blemish-type scar under her right eye and a thin scar on her forehead above her left eye, hoping that someone might recognize her or come forward with information.
Cheese and crackers.
A tip soon came in from a woman whose grandson, an 11-year-old boy, claimed to have seen Tiffany on the morning of her disappearance. According to the boy, he saw the girl in the backseat of a two-door car driven by a man wearing a hat. This sighting was reported to have occurred off Barton Chapel Road, about 4 miles west of the gas station where Tiffany was last seen. However, police were unable to substantiate the tip or gather enough information to pursue it further. Despite the urgency of the situation, the search for Tiffany quickly began to stall. On June 16th, cadaver dogs from Fort Gordon's K-9 unit were brought in to search a wooded area near the gas station, but they found nothing. Tiffany's story was featured on the television program America's Most Wanted on June 18th, in the hope that national exposure would generate new leads. Unfortunately, this effort did not produce any breakthroughs. For weeks, a 5-man investigative team continued canvassing the area, questioning residents and searching for any witnesses who might have seen Tiffany or her bike. The fact that she disappeared at 10 a.m. on a Monday meant that many people were at work and few had information to offer. One of the most puzzling aspects of the case was the disappearance of Tiffany's bicycle. It was never found, leading investigators to believe that whoever had taken Tiffany must have had a vehicle large enough to transport both her and the bicycle without attracting attention. Law enforcement initially treated Tiffany's disappearance as a missing person case rather than a suspected abduction, which meant that critical early leads may have been missed. The family later expressed frustration that the case was not immediately classified as a potential kidnapping, especially given the circumstances and Tiffany's reliable character. As the months and years passed, Tiffany's case remained unsolved. In 1996, the Augusta Police Department merged with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office, and her case files were transferred over. Detectives periodically reviewed the notes, hoping that a fresh perspective might yield new clues, but the trail remained cold. It was not until 1999 that the case was seriously revisited, prompted by the disappearance of another child in the Augusta area. In April 1999, 6-year-old Keenan O'Malley disappeared while riding his bike in North Augusta, South Carolina. The similarities between his case and Tiffany's, both young children last seen on bicycles, drew renewed attention to Tiffany's disappearance. However, unlike Tiffany, Keenan's body was found the next day, and his killer, William Ernest Downs, was quickly identified and arrested. Downs was later questioned about Tiffany's case, but denied any involvement, and investigators found no evidence linking him to her disappearance. Yet again, the case stalled and hope dwindled. However, speed up to May 16, 2005, a major breakthrough occurred. 2 men discovered skeletal remains in a shallow grave off Farmers Bridge Road in Burke County, approximately 15 miles from where Tiffany was last seen. The remains were identified as Tiffany's through mitochondrial DNA testing, which matched maternal relatives, and by the presence of her distinctive blue and white Air Jordan sneakers. Unfortunately, due to the advanced state of decomposition, the medical examiner could not determine the cause of death or whether Tiffany had been sexually assaulted. The discovery of her remains shifted the case from a missing person investigation to a homicide. The confirmation of Tiffany's identity brought a measure of relief to her family and the community, but it also reignited the investigation. The GBI and local law enforcement shifted their focus to determining how the girl had died and who was responsible. Unfortunately, the advanced state of decomposition meant that forensic investigators were unable to establish a cause of death or determine whether Tiffany had been assaulted. This lack of physical evidence limited the avenues available to detectives, forcing them to rely more heavily on witness testimony, circumstantial evidence, and any new tips that might emerge. In the weeks following the discovery, law enforcement made public appeals for information, hoping that the renewed attention would jog memories or encourage someone with knowledge of the crime to come forward. The media reported extensively on the case, emphasizing the tragic circumstances and the long wait for answers. Tiffany's family, while grateful to have her remains returned, expressed frustration and sadness that so many questions remained unanswered. They continued to call for justice and urged anyone with information to contact authorities. More than 50 volunteers, including family members.
Bitch. I thought I heard something, boy. I'm tweaking.
Members, friends, and concerned citizens participated in a search of the area surrounding the burial site. They combed the woods for any additional evidence, clothing, personal items, or clues that might have been overlooked during the initial excavation. Despite their efforts, no new evidence was found that could advance the investigation or shed light on Tiffany's final moments. The investigation, which spanned decades, was marked by missed opportunities, unsubstantiated leads, and persistent uncertainty about what happened to Tiffany after she disappeared on June 6, 1994. A particularly intriguing unresolved element is the reported sighting of Tiffany in the backseat of a two-door car driven by a man in a hat. This sighting allegedly occurred off Barton Chapel Road, about 4 miles from where Tiffany was last seen. However, details about this tip were never fully disclosed, and police ultimately deemed it not credible due to insufficient information. The lack of follow-up or additional witness corroboration leaves open the question of whether this sighting was a genuine clue or a red herring. The complete disappearance of Tiffany's bicycle remains another point of intrigue. Bicycles are not easily concealed or transported without a vehicle, especially a 10-speed model, which would have been cumbersome in a small car. The fact that her bike was never seen again strongly suggests premeditation and access to a larger vehicle, such as a truck or van. This aspect of the case has fueled speculation that the perpetrator may have been someone familiar with the area and able to act quickly and decisively without drawing attention.
I'm done with that, y'all. That fucking, y'all gotta put them bicycles down. If I catch a nigga on a bicycle, get the fuck out the bicycle. I ain't mean to curse. Get the freak out the bicycle. No more bicycles, no more. I better not see nobody on a bicycle. Take Chad bicycle away from him. Xander, Harper, no bicycles no more. None. I don't want them outside no more, bro. Nobody going outside no more. Matter of fact, everybody inside. Lock down. Lock everything down. Well, hope y'all enjoyed that right there, man. A little reaction. A little reaction today. What's tomorrow? Okay. Tomorrow, what we gonna do tomorrow? I'll figure it out tomorrow. That's the tomorrow thing. I hope y'all enjoyed this little shindig. I try to do a little something every day. Give y'all a little taste of something. Appreciate y'all for being here. Like, subscribe, comment, Shout out Brittany. Shout out my mama. Shout out. That's it, bro. Shout out the people that was watching, but they ain't say nothing though. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all.